welcome to the Monday evening.
Love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Hello, welcome into a Friday, November 29th edition of Field of 68 After Dark. Hope your Thanksgiving holiday is going just a little bit better than Dan Hurley's. Hope it's going just a little bit better than Tommy Lloyd's. I don't think that would be extremely difficult to do, even if politics got brought up, right? You probably still had a better week than those two gentlemen. We have so much to get to. Very jam-packed slate today in college basketball. Purdue, it feels like it's definitely the team of the day with what they did against Ole Miss in dramatic fashion. So a lot to get to. I'm joined today by two esteemed gentlemen, Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated, CJ Moore from The Athletic. But Kevin, let's start with this Purdue team. It's as we know, it's almost impossible to quantify how much they lost from last year to this one, just in the one player, right? Just in the one player who goes by Zach Edey, who plays in my neck of the woods now. And you look at their resume, and they've gotten, multiple ranked wins now. They beat Alabama. They've beaten Ole Miss today. What sort of made this possible for Purdue to, I won't say pick up where they left off, but, certainly sustain it on some level?
Look, it starts with their point guard, Braden Smith, who's been – as advertised and more, right? I think they really felt like he could be an All-American level player, and he has been. 18 points today, 11 assists, only 2 turnovers. He has consistently delivered for them, even in the biggest moments, and has proven he can be the star. And it helps that you have Trey Coffin-Renn, who's picked up the load post-scoring wise, had 25 today. His obviously was great against Alabama a couple weeks ago when I was at that game at Mackey. Look, I think this team looks like what Matt Painter was starting to try to build after FDU, right? He talked about wanting to get more athletic, wanting to get faster. That's what they are now, right? It's Colvin and Heidi now running the wings, and Colvin had a career day today, even before the buzzer beater. Like they're an interesting team and a tough team to deal with because they're more athletic than Purdue has been in the past. They have elite point guard play. They have shooting everywhere, and they've got a big that you can still throw it to on the block and go get a bucket and Trey Coffin-Renn. Like this is a dangerous group. They have their limitations. I think they're going to struggle with interior defense. Really got torched overall defensively today, partially by a hot shooting night by Ole Miss. But I think all things considered, for Purdue to be in this place with losing an all-time great college basketball player says everything about the program Matt Painter's built.
Yeah, they were trailing by double digits there in the second half, was Purdue, and they obviously turned the water off on Ole Miss. Yeah, well, just to ask you, CJ, to kind of expound on what Kevin said. Matt Painter is certainly one of the more polar, or at least he was. There was a time when he was polarizing. I don't know if that time still exists now based on what he's done, but to what Kevin said, has Matt sort of removed himself from any sort of conversations regarding doubt about his ability to do this job at a high level?
Yeah, and there shouldn't have never been doubt. Tony Bennett also lost the first-round game as a number 1 seed and was a very, very good coach. I think Matt Painter is one of the best program builders, one of the best in-game, out-of-game, whatever coaches in the country. He is awesome at what his job and what he does. And that win today I thought was really, really impressive because they played great first half, and then Ole Miss comes out that second half, and those dudes could not miss. They were getting some good looks, but they were just on fire from three. I think they hit maybe their first 4 threes of the second half. They were just almost every time down, it felt like they were scoring the basketball. And I thought it was like, I thought Purdue was toast. And then they go on, I think, a 10-0 run. And Miles Colvin, coming out party for him, as Sweeney hit on. He was really, really good. And to get that game winner, great awareness by him. But I just think there is so much on Braden Smith's plate. And it felt like second half, it was either he has to make a play for somebody or it's not happening. And it's kind of a dangerous way to live a little bit if he tires out, but the guy that just keeps producing and throughout the game. And he had maybe one bad turnover late, but other than that, and he had that one miss where he like almost hit the not the scoreboard, but the shot clock. But other than that, I thought he was terrific. And it was just a really, really well managed game by him and to keep them in there. And then Miles Colvin stepping up and hitting some big plays, especially during that run. He obviously has a game winner, but I thought his energy, couple plays, big shot he hit, really, really kind of changed the momentum of that game.
Yeah, we're going to actually catch up with Miles here in just a moment. Kevin had a chance to catch up with him after the game, but I want to talk about him specifically because I always feel like there are certain hallmarks and indicators, right, of great coaches and great programs. And like the idea that he was in position to get that game winner today is one of them. He's a guy that like played sparingly last year, 8.5 minutes a game, but it's that old adage, right, Kevin? It's you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. And that was a stay ready moment today for Miles Colvin.
Well, I think it's as much as anything, it's year 2 in the system and him understanding now, like what is the standard at Purdue. And yes, it's his shot making ability. He's elite, and his athleticism is a game changer for this team. But doing all the little stuff's what gets you on the floor when you're at Purdue, especially when you're playing with star players like Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman. Right? I know Matt Painter said it a million times, but he pitches guys recruiting, and it's if you're one of our better players, here's what our offense is going to look like for you, and if not, you're going to have to find a way to help us win. And Miles Colvin is learning how to help this Purdue team win. He was huge today. Look, I think the other thing I'd mention is they've really had to change how they play even from the start of the year because they were starting Daniel Jacobson, the freshman, 7'4", playing Coffin run at the 4 still. They've now had to embrace really by with no other choice playing small ball, and that means Colvin and Cam Heide having to step up both as just rotation players, but also as rebounders. And Miles Colvin comes in with the biggest rebound of the game, wins them a basketball game today. Matt Painter is going to absolutely love that from his sophomore wing.
Yeah, CJ, any thoughts on just sort of, the improv in some ways that Matt Painter is having to kind of operate on here?
Yeah, I think it was a smart move to go to more of the small ball lineup. I think it's really helped their spacing. And, you go back to that Marquette game, like they were blitzing them in the ball screen. I felt like that really gave them problems. And, Braden Smith was so used to going against the drop coverage last year because of Zach Edey that, he's seeing some different coverages now because Edey's not out there. And I thought he did a really nice job hitting the short roll today to Kaufman Wren. And he's doing a better job in that spot to being able to spray it out. And he's getting more comfortable where he's having to handle the ball a little bit further out from the basket. And it's just really, really helped their spacing and giving them more of a more options out of the pick and roll, which is really important because they're just going to do that over and over and over again. Because like I said, they're going to put the ball in Braden Smith's hands and let him create because they don't really have other creators out there. It's so much is on his plate to get guys shots. But I kind of like this lineup for them, and that they've gone away from, okay, we might not have two bigs to play 35, 40 minutes out there. We need to adjust. And I mean, Cam Heide's a big freaking dude. I mean, that guy's built like a linebacker. Plenty of teams have gotten away playing small at the high major level. And I think it was the right move for Matt Painter. And, they probably don't win if they're trying to play traditional today.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, 80-78 was the final. And one of the key components, the game winner, that came from Miles Colvin, who we had a chance to catch up with in the moments after that win. This is Kevin Sweeney with Miles Colvin earlier this afternoon.
All right, Field of 68 here with the hero tonight in San Diego, Miles Colvin of Purdue, fresh off a career-high 20 and the game-winning bucket. Miles, congrats on the win. First off, just take us through that final play. What happened? How were you able to come up with that game-winning bucket?
Before the play started, Paint told us to, just crash and try and get a rebound just in case it was a missed shot. Braden's shot was a little short, but, I just happened to be there in the right place at the right time to, get the putback layup.
Wild back and forth game. You guys let it half, and then all of a sudden find yourself down. Ole Miss was on fire from three. What was the message from Coach Paint throughout the second half as they were making their push for you guys to get back in it with that 10-0 run?
I think we were just pushing to get stops. I think we couldn't, lock in on defense. I think offense we were fine the whole game, but I think it was just defense we were giving them too many open looks, and I think that's really what helped them get back in the game. They had a little momentum going into the second half from the end of the first, but I think that's towards the end, couple minutes we really locked in, got defensive rebounds. We were fouling, I feel like, at the beginning of the second half, but I think we stopped that and, just, locked in on defense.
How much more comfortable are you this year compared to last year two in the system, now coming out in the starting lineup the last 3 games? Well, what's changed for you year 2?
Really not much. I think I have a really good understanding of the offense. Obviously it's easy playing with the best point guard in the country, and Braden Smith, and having Trey also, a really good passing big. So, I just learned to, play off them, get to my spots, and play off the closeouts, and, and obviously try to make shots.
You mentioned Braden playing like an All-American so far this year. How fun is it to play with a point guard like that who sets you up?
It's amazing. Obviously it's, he's going to create for others and himself. So I think it's just always a matter of being ready. And, when you get those shots, take them and be confident in them. Because when he passes you the ball, he expects you to shoot and hit the shots. So I think it's just, playing good basketball.
I know you guys are heading into Big Ten play this week already. Crazy to say that. What does this Purdue team need to do to repeat again as Big Ten champs?
Honestly, I think we just need to keep on doing what we're doing, working hard, doing little things. I think if we keep doing little things and then doing our jobs, we'll be fine. I think we've continued to do that and showing that we can close out games and beat top competition in the country if we do that. So I think that's all we have to do.
That's Miles Colvin, fresh off a career high in a championship game over Ole Miss. Thanks, Miles.
Good stuff there with Miles Colvin from Purdue. Again, 80-78. He hits the game winner over Ole Miss. CJ, the other side of this game, Ole Miss got what I thought was a fantastic win over BYU in overtime yesterday. So they're clearly a legitimate team here. Can't quite get it done against Purdue. But just watching Ole Miss and, as Chris Beard is trying to sort of get this program off the ground, what have you seen? What have you liked about the Ole Miss program this year?
Well, I think that, defensively they haven't been as good as some of his Texas Tech teams or what he had at Texas. But, just the ability to really spread the floor, their pick and pop was deadly today. And guys like Drake Davis and Brakefield, really, really hard to guard because they can get out to the perimeter and drive it. And Malik Dia as well. I think they're, with their bigs being so versatile, they're a hard team to guard, and we saw that for Purdue today. Matthew Morrell has not shot it that well this season, but he stepped up and hit a couple of big threes today. I think if they can start shooting it at a level, obviously they're not going to shoot it like they shot it today, but if they can shoot the 3-ball well, I think their defense is going to get better as the season goes along. He has Mark Adams back with them now, who ran his defense at Texas Tech. I expect that they'll have, a top probably 30-40 defense by the end of the season. And he's got a nice team that's probably going to finish top half of the SEC, and that's going to be an NCAA tournament team if you're top half of the SEC, because that league is so ridiculously deep this year.
Yeah, Kevin, where are you on the Rebs?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jalen Murray. He was awesome today. 13 points, 9 assists, 2 turnovers, was phenomenal against BYU. Like, here's a guy that, Beard brings in another point guard this spring, and Sean Padula, and really said, like, all right, like, you want to play, you're going to get pushed. And he's delivered. He's been great. And when you can play with multiple point guards on the floor, it opens a lot up. When you have 2 guys who can handle the ball, you have these big wings that can go make plays. The one thing you're probably missing is that true defensive-minded center. That's the thing that's hold them back from being as good as kind of those old Texas Tech teams defensively. But, yeah, I'm a buyer of Ole Miss. This was an impressive performance. I mean, look, they were down 17. battle all the way back. Probably should have won this game, but that second half performance was impressive and then showed me a lot from this Ole Miss team.
We got work to do here on this show, fellas. We got to sort through Indiana. We got to sort through Arizona. So it's you guys have like yard gloves and stuff where you're at. Like, I mean, this could be a dirty job. This could be a pretty dirty job. So we're going to do that a little bit later here in the show. We'll be back. You're watching Field of 68 After Dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here on a Friday. Yeah, busy packed slate as we have a battle for Atlantis champ. Probably time to talk about that. That's this Oklahoma Sooners team that, I mean, every time I popped in on the broadcast, the announcer was telling me the team that nobody thought would be here. Which I guess that's true. I guess nobody thought that. You could probably say that for both teams. But Kevin, Oklahoma's obviously transitioning to a new league here as well in the SEC, and I know that fan base was definitely looking for some traction and to get their footing under Porter Moser. Are you seeing that, and does a win like that sort of say that that's on the horizon?
Yeah, look, I thought this was huge for momentum, right? I mean, look, this is a essentially completely new team. Lost Otega Owe to Kentucky, JV McCollum to Georgia Tech, Uzan to Houston, Hughley to Xavier. Like, they got gutted in the portal. And so you get this weird collection of guys, add Jeremiah Fears late. And, I don't blame anyone for being skeptical. I think they probably were to an extent, inside the place. What can we do with this new group? We'll see what happens when we play some real games. And they went out and they balled. And it was different guys, different nights. That to me what was so impressive. Fears was phenomenal yesterday in that upset win over Arizona. Today it was Jalen Moore, who has kind of made his career as a glue guy. They're involving him a lot more in the offense. I know Jimmy Dykes on the broadcast did a great job of kind of showcasing the different ways they were getting him touches. But Louisville had no answer for him in this game, and Louisville kept coming, kept throwing punches in that second half, and Oklahoma showed a lot of resolve to find a way to hold on, maintain that lead, and win the game. So. Yeah, I mean, look, it's an uphill road. We've talked about how good the SEC is. We're going to continue to talk about that throughout the show and throughout the fall. But man, this was a big 3 wins for Oklahoma down in the Bahamas, and a chance to really build momentum heading into SEC play. The games they have left, they could easily be unbeaten heading into January. No one would have predicted that in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to necessarily handicap the SEC race here, but I'm happy to just replace Arkansas with Oklahoma and top 4. I mean, Arkansas ain't finishing 4th. Oklahoma might. I mean, right, CJ? I mean, what's to keep them from finishing in top 5 in the SEC?
I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there yet, but the job Porter Moser's done is super impressive because, I mean, Sweetie hit on all the guys that they lost. I mean, I felt really bad for him when he had 3 really good guards last year. If you remember last season, I think they were a top 10 team about this time, December, early January. They were really high up there in the rankings, and then they just basically got hit by the Big 12, kind of got on a little bit of a skid. And he's had 2 of his teams, I think, have been the first team out of the NCAA tournament. Year 4 for him, a really, really important year to go to the tournament. And he loses 3 guards that would have been, one of the better backcourts in college basketball and scrambled late. Duke Miles was a really, really good add. but guys that, you're just going out and getting Glenn Taylor, who's I believe at his third school, finding guys, and Jalen Moore is proof of like a dude that in his second year in the program, and how much more comfortable someone is like that after transferring last year in and second year in the program. I think you see guys take leaps sometimes at places, and they've had that happen there. And just they guard, like they really, really get after it on defense. That's what really impressed me today is how the effort and how aggressive they are defensively. I think they're forcing they rank 24 in defensive turnover rate. Like they're really forcing a lot of steals. It was an impressive 3 wins in battle for Atlantis. Like I didn't see this coming for them, and I'm not sure I'm ready to go top 4 in the SEC, but he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was a physical game, and there was a blow by, I guess, out in the handshake line, Kevin. I assume my assumption would be Pat Kelsey felt a certain type of way about the Oklahoma defender being across the sideline there on the inbound.
Did y'all see the look back by Porter on the blow by? That was awesome.
I mean, I wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have noticed if he didn't stop. I would have felt like they got to get to dinner out there in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
man, it was wild. Look, the one thing I'll say, just to close the book on Oklahoma, like coaches can learn and grow too, right? Like this is year 4 for Porter. He's like Oklahoma could not be a more different job than Loyola Chicago. And he's had to go be Mr. Portal and flip the roster every year. And that's not who he ever was at Loyola when he had so much success. Like sometimes an old dog's got to learn new tricks. And I think Porter has been in the process of doing that. And the way he's been able to push the right buttons and get guys defending at the level that he wants, playing his style of basketball, all while being, in year 1, very much still learning the program. Like Jeremiah Fears is an 18-year-old kid. He looks like a kid out there. He has a baby face, but he is a killer. And Oklahoma, they're doing it a different way, but I think Porter has grown and is a really, really good coach. And it's cool for him that they had the success they had this week.
Yeah, on the Louisville side, go ahead.
One thing I've talked to him about since he got that job is one lesson he learned early was you've got to have speed playing at the high major level. And I think he's really, really tried to address that the last couple of years. Javian McCollum was a blur last year with the basketball. Otega Owe was like a really great athlete that he got. And I think you look out there at the end of the game today, and I think he had Kobe Elvis, Jalen Moore, Jeremiah Fears, Duke Miles, and Glenn Taylor on the floor, like a small lineup, but fast. And I think speed is something that they've really, really tried to build around, and defensively that's helped them a lot. I think it helped them a lot this week.
Yeah, on the Louisville side of this discussion, again, I think all those points are you can apply to Louisville as well. I mean, I don't think anybody had them necessarily off to a start like this and being in this game. They also do lose Case and Pryor. We'll see, Kevin, just for how long he's out. But just taking what Pat Kelsey has done, and I'm not looking for the participation trophy. I want to be very clear about that. I stand with you on that, brother. I stand with you. But just in its totality, Louisville being here and as quick as it seems to be happening for Pat Kelsey.
They belong in these games again. That was the standard for year 1, was to look like you belong when you play high major teams, let alone blow them out like they did against Indiana the other day. Like they're in a position to compete for an NCAA tournament berth. That's all you could ask for. You wish you had this one today. The Pryor injury is concerning. Look, the one thing I will say, this is a team that's built on 3-point shooting. They're taking a ton of them. They're not shooting great right now. I think they're at 29%. They were 7 for 32 today. 7 for 32. Mm-hmm. It's probably not going to cut it, right? And you would think there's some positive regression coming, right? I mean, Case and Pryor, hopefully he's back. But before that was shooting 5 for 33. He's a much better shooter than that. They got a lot of guys who will shoot better. Noah Waterman, 9 for 37. He'll shoot better than that. So watch out. If Louisville starts making threes at the level that they really expected to coming in, they're going to be a really tough out come ACC play.
A couple of situations that we need to make sense of outside of these two teams, CJ. One of them is Indiana. They obviously come in ranked to the week 14th in the country. They get blasted by Louisville. Then they get blasted by Gonzaga. Duke finally turned things around today, albeit against Providence. But is this a case of this Indiana team is coming in far more highly rated than they should be? Is this an underachievement? Like, where do you come down with what the Hoosiers are doing?
Well, I mean, I do think they're underachieving based on their talent. And I went back and watched the Louisville and Gonzaga games this morning. And, man, they've got a defense issue. And Mike Woodson, I think a lot of people will focus on his style of play and his roster building of like they try to kind of an archaic play inside, throw in the post a bunch. But I think offensively, like I think they're going to figure it out and be okay. But defensively, they need to get so much better. Like their effort's just not there. Transition defense, they're jogging back. You'll watch other teams really try to push it on them because you can. Like, Omar Ballo is this. He has a hard time getting up and down the floor, and you can beat him down the floor. But it's their other guys too. Like they are just not busting their butts to get back. And then defensively in their ball screen covers, they're just trying to do so much different stuff, and their guys are confused. Like I don't know if you guys heard of nexting and ball screen action where you use like the strong side defender to take the guy if the ball handler gets inside the 3-point line and they're doing that, and then the guy who's on the ball has to run to the guy who took over defensively, and there's just so much confusion there. There's their guys are looking around, they're not sure who they have. There's a lot of finger pointing, the communication's not great. It's a bad defense, and that's where they need to get a lot better before they have a chance to play in high level games and win high level games, because the effort and the attention to detail is just not there. And I think he needs to figure out a way to just really make it simple for his guys and get back to coaching effort, which is sad. Like if you have to coach effort, I think there's a problem, but that's the main issue for me for Indiana. Like, offensively, I think they've got enough talent, but defensively, they got to figure things out.
Is it fixable, Kevin? I mean, if that's the problem, is that fixable?
You would think, right? Like I think the bones are there to be a good basketball team. Maybe not the top 10, top 15 team that Indiana fans expect, but like they have pieces here. Like they're very talented, and when they've played teams that don't have their level of dudes, they've been really good. Like I was at the South Carolina game. They overwhelmed them at the rim. Providence, scored 89 points, looked sharp. I'd argue that Indiana probably had the 4 best players on the floor in the game. Obviously Jaden Pierre's a good player, but like if I was drafting guys, I'd probably take Mbako, Ballo, Renew, and Miles Rice, who really struggled all week, like over all those guys. So their talent level is good enough to be a good team. It's in these level and above games. How do you look? And to me, I just get really frustrated when I watch them. If you're going to play 2 bigs, you better be dominating the glass. They don't do that. If you're going to play 2 bigs, you better be dominating at the free throw line. They don't really do that. Those are effort things, right? Same thing with defense. It's effort. Like they need to maximize their strengths if they're going to play the style that they play. And right now it just feels like a work in progress. Again, I love Rice. I know he struggled this week. I think he really unlocks a lot of stuff for them when he's at his best. And once he gets it going, I feel better about Indiana. I do think still that they're a tournament team, but are they more than that? I think this week called a lot of that into question.
Yeah, it was also a rough week for Arizona, right? A week ago, they were hosting Duke as short favorites, and Duke comes in there and just kind of runs them out of their own building, right? It was a competitive game in the second half, but that was a game that Arizona really, really needed. And again, as short favorites, we're supposed to win. Then you lose to Oklahoma. Then you lose today to West Virginia. And obviously, CJ, some of this you kind of will ascribe to engagement after a couple of tough L's. But what is your view of this Arizona team that they're running it back with Caleb Love, but it doesn't seem like they're taking steps?
Yeah, when I watch them, I just don't see enough shooting out there on the floor. I think that's one of the major issues with this team. Is they just don't have enough shot makers, and I talking to Tommy before the year, like he wanted Caleb to be able to average something like 14 points a game or so, way less of a usage rate and higher efficiency, and that hasn't really happened. His efficiency is okay, but it's not terrific. I just don't think they have enough pop offensively, and they'll get better, I'm guessing, as the season goes along. But man, they're in a tough spot here because the Big 12 is another league that's really, really deep, and these were a couple wins like Oklahoma and West Virginia. Those are games that you would think Arizona, even down a little bit, should be able to win. And I just think they've got to figure some things out, particularly on the offensive end, and figure out a way to score without making perimeter shots, because they're just not what you expect out of Tommy Lloyd offense to this point. And I think part of it is just don't have enough guys out there that can make an outside shot.
Of those two situations that we just talked about, Kevin, which one would you rather bet on, like being a real outfit come March?
I think I would still take Arizona. I think their roster's better. I think Lloyd has the track record. I mean, look, this program's been a top 3 seed 3 straight years, right? The sky should not be falling because of 7 games, or maybe it is because they've had so much success. Look, I think individually all of these results are explainable. It's happening, all 4 of them, in basically 2 weeks. That's the scary thing. I think their identity needs to be defense and toughness. Like, this team has a bunch of dudes that look like linebackers. There's no excuse for being 45th in defensive efficiency and giving up 82 to Oklahoma. I know it was overtime today, 83 to West Virginia. Like, if they're going to be limited shooting the basketball, let's just bludgeon people. Let's destroy them on the glass. Let's make it impossible for them to get to the paint. And let's find a way to score in transition. Like, they're going to have to, and it's going to be hard for them to half court. I think that's going to be a theme for them this year. They just don't have the shot making outside of Love, who is up and down. But I still think the bones are there of a team that can just outwork you if things break right. They just got to kind of regroup and redefine what their identity is.
Yeah, certainly a fun week there in college basketball. And listen, it was not a fun week for the Big East. Creighton had a bad week. UConn had a bad week. Most teams in the Big East are having a bad week so far. But a lot of time, and still early. We'll get into just how much concern are we panicking about the Big East in 2024, 2025. I'll ask these guys when we get back. Stick around. You're watching Field of 68 After Dark.
Now that college basketball season is back in full swing, I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick-hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here on a Friday. I'm John Martin, joined tonight by Kevin Sweeney, by CJ Moore. We're going to do some Deal or No Deal a little bit later in the show here. Was that one of your favorites, Kevin, growing up? Deal or No Deal?
I watched it all the time at my grandma's house. I was like dialed in whenever Deal or No Deal was on. So fired up.
Sweet moments here on After Dark. And it was a sweet moment indeed for one Zach Austin. How do you do, Mr. Zach Austin, on the road at Ohio State? He says, you know what? I'm going for the dub. I'm going for the 3 right here, right now. And he nails it, and he nails the shot. Pitt gets a very, very nice road win at Ohio State. So, Kevin, how do we sort of sort this Pitt team? Where do they belong in the national conversation and the AAC as well? Excuse me, the ACC as well.
Look, I think they're the second best team in the ACC right now, other than Duke. I mean, they have been impressive and had a real chance to beat Wisconsin. Led most of that game, just kind of couldn't finish the late. Damian Dunn, who's one of their most important players, a guy who can really score the basketball. He got hurt early in that game and was not able to play. He's out now for a couple weeks. But, man, like, tons to like. And the grittiness to go on the road, trail most of the way, give up, I think, 70% shooting in the first half, and just battle and keep your head in it and find a way late. I mean, that was really impressive. Lowe is outstanding at point guard. He was great today, had 28. Drew the foul on the three that kept them in the game with under 10 seconds to play. And then Austin off the bench. I mean, this team is long. They're athletic. I really liked Papa Conte today, the redshirt freshman big. He was a big-time recruit and finally showed it today. Mobility gives them a different look at the five that they've had with Corin and Diaz-Graham. So I'm bullish, man. This was a heck of a road win against a good Ohio State team. And with teams like North Carolina and Wake and other teams we expected at the top of the ACC struggling, I think there's an opportunity for Pitt to really rise.
CJ, do you share the optimism here from Mr. Sweeney?
100% agree. They're out of all the teams I haven't put in my top 25 this year, they are the ones that I regret the most. I almost did it last week because I watched that Wisconsin game and I thought, man, if they win this, obviously they're in. If they don't, maybe. But they're going to be quite a ways up there this week because I think KenPom's got them at all the way up to 12. And they're really, really good. Like Jalen Lowe is one of the most fun point guards to watch in the country. I thought the shot he made to send it to overtime, where it was just like this step through lefty scoop off the glass. Like it was an extremely difficult shot that he makes look really easy because he's just so smooth. And then he made the play. Zach Austin made the shot, but he made the play there, dragging the ball screen out far enough to give Zach space to make that shot. And he just makes really high-level reads. He's terrific. Ishmael Leggett has been really, really good. He is a load taking the ball to the basket. Bodies just bounce off of him. I'm with Sweeney. I like how they're built. I like how they play together. While Ohio State was making a ton of shots the first half, I didn't feel like it was Pittsburgh's defense was awful. I just thought Ohio State was playing at a really high level. And this is a win that's going to age really, really well because I think Ohio State's legit. And you go back and look, like these dudes beat West Virginia by 24. And that's looking a lot better than we thought a couple of weeks ago because of what we saw what West Virginia did this week. So I think this is a really, really good basketball team, and I'm right there with Sweeney. I would pick them second in the ACC right now and without hesitation.
Real quick, Sweeney, on Ohio State's Diebler. He was certainly. I don't know if many people expected Ohio State to go the route that they did. I understand why they did it, but just curious your early returns on him when in his first full year on the job, and just what you think of him from what you've seen.
I think they're a dangerous team because they have old guards and they're athletic up front. I think today you can poke some holes in some game management stuff, and there's some just execution stuff, right? Like you can't foul a shooter with under 10 seconds to play. Is that a coaching thing? Yeah, I guess everything falls on the head coach, but that's also like every coach in America would tell your guy, don't foul there, and he did. Like you can't foul a shooter. You certainly can't foul a shooter with under 10 to play up 4. They give up a 3 there to Austin, yeah, but I mean, you were probably most scared of Lowe getting downhill and getting to the rim again after he did it in regulation. So I think all things considered, you have to be pretty happy with where Ohio State is. I was skeptical of the hire. I'm not going to anoint him the greatest coach in the country yet, but I do think he's done a solid job and has this team looking like at least a tournament team and maybe even a Big Ten contender. This thing's wide open. I think Purdue's probably the favorite, but Ohio State has played probably as well as anyone else in the conference so far.
Let's quickly go over at least one result here before we get to the Big East. Earlier this week in college basketball, Illinois just handles Arkansas basically from the beginning. And I'm really more interested, CJ, in the Arkansas piece of this because, like, I kind of know that Illinois is going to be a good team. Like, I know that they're going to be a factor as opposed to this Arkansas team where every game looks the same at this point. It's like 5 of 19 from 3. Like there's 2 guys that are in double figures, and there's one shooter on the court really at all times. You see it there, 90-77. I don't know. I was high on this Arkansas team, maybe because I just wanted the redemption arc of John Calipari, but I'm a little worried I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, I think it's just the same old story with Cal. Like I don't know that he learns any lessons year to year. Defensively, they were a train wreck last year. Their ball screen coverage was terrible, and they just got carved up in this game with their ball screen coverage. Last year his offense takes off and it's way better than, way more modern than it had been. But the guy that he had helping him with his offense, his name's going to escape me right now, but he went and didn't follow John to Arkansas. He went and is an assistant now at Fresno State. So I feel like Cal has not progressed with the times, and there a lot of times, the things you see them doing, the mistakes that you see them making, like they continue to make those mistakes. So I wasn't able to watch this particular game, but watching them this year, it just reminds me of same old Cal type mistakes that they're making year in and year out.
Yeah. And then a larger, I want to turn into a larger picture conversation, Kevin, about the Big East, which I don't know, why everybody is freaking out. I mean, we got DePaul at 7-0. The Big East seems fine. And I might argue that the Big East has never been better, but in all seriousness, we know that's not the case. Bad week for Creighton, bad week for UConn. Do you sort of, I think maybe, Kevin, with Creighton, you could say Ashworth missed some time, did finally come back, but how much of a different team they are when he's on the floor. UConn, I have bigger questions. But just where are you? Are you panicking about the state of the Big East? Once you get outside, Marquette here, what do you make of the state of the conference right now?
Yeah, look, it's easy to kind of, for each individual team, you can sort of say, oh, they're a work in progress, right? UConn should take some time to figure things out. Creighton's got new players and is trying to fit in Zugic if he can get eligible. That could change their team. Providence hasn't had Hopkins, right? Like, you can go down the list and say, oh, they'll be better in a month. But like, if the whole league is bad in November and December, it's not going to matter, because now all the wins won't matter when you're doing it in January and February. That to me is the big concern, right? Even if these teams do improve, which I think is quite possible, because I'm not dead on all these rosters right now. Like, I think Xavier's got talent. I think they're going to be fine. I think Creighton's going to be fine. But when you do this in the non-conference and you lay eggs against other top tier opponents pretty consistently, and even take some bad losses, like, it sets you up to not get the benefit of the doubt on Selection Sunday. And after 3 bids a year ago, this is exactly the opposite of what you were hoping for league wide. So yeah, I think the concern is very real. I think there's a clear lack of elite teams other than potentially Marquette, and even them, we still want to see it against good teams away from home. But even if Marquette is the one team carrying the torch, I mean, everybody else is relatively underachieved. Again, I guess the one exception is DePaul, sitting here at 7-0 with a big game in Lubbock against Texas Tech on Wednesday. Who would have thought we would have said that? But yeah, I think there's still plenty of tournament level teams here long term. I'm just not sure they're going to earn it in November and December when it matters.
What's your state of the union on the Big East here, CJ?
Yeah, I think it's concerning, and I think that's a great point. It kind of goes back to like the Pac-12, the RIP. The past few years, like just not getting it done in the non-conference, and then you don't get very many teams in the tournament because those teams' resumes just aren't good enough, because you can't get resume building wins once you get to league play. So I still think there's probably, I think we're going to hit on this later. I still think Marquette, St. John's, Xavier are probably NCAA tournament teams. You would think Connecticut would figure it out and get there as well. But man, who'd have thunk it? Like, all these Connecticut fans have been going extremely crazy in like my comment section on my top 25 every week, because I think I've had the audacity to have a team that lost 4 starters down at number 8 or 9 in the rankings, instead of having them number 2 or number 1 because they're the champion. And it's really, really hard to replace 4 high level starters, and we're seeing that with UConn. And I'm not going to bury UConn and say they're dead, but there's some teams in the league that just Villanova, UConn, Creighton aren't as good as what we thought probably in the preseason.
Even if they are dead, they won 2 straight championships. So I mean,
Yeah, you get like a 10-year grace period after that.
Yeah, like I mean, it goes back to like if I could win 1 championship as a Memphian, I think I would take a 30-year drought after that. I would accept it. I mean, that's again, I guess the UConn fans are going to have to, litigate that. But yeah, I would certainly make the sacrifice. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to play Kevin Sweeney's favorite game show that he watched with his grandmother when he was growing up. That's Deal or No Deal. So, I mean, it's sweet, man. It's the holidays, we're feeling emotional. So I'll try to take – I know I can't take Grandma's place. I'll do my best. CJ as well. We'll get into all of that when we get back. You're watching Field of 68 After Dark.
Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
All right, welcome back. Field of 68 After Dark. I'm John Martin, joined tonight by my guys Kevin Sweeney and CJ Moore. We've been talking all things in what was a very busy day in college basketball. Had some champs crowned, some nice performances certainly for some teams around the country. But we've reached that time, Kevin. We've reached that time of the show where we are going to have a special Black Friday edition. It's being called Deal or No Deal. Now I'm looking at the format here. Seems to be no resemblance to this show, as you point out. But we're going to go through it, and we're going to do it anyway. So I'm going to ask you guys 3 different questions, and you guys tell me if you're buying it, you're taking the deal, or you think it's no deal. Are we ready?
Ready.
Let's play.
All right, Kevin. Let's get it underway, man. The Big East will get more than 3 bids this season.
I'm buying that. I think they will. I know it's popular right now to run around like the world's on fire in the Big East, and right now it probably is. And I know I just made this whole argument about how they're not set up well for Selection Sunday and all that. But the one benefit of the league looking bad is that there are wins to be had against the bottom. I think the thing that really hurt the Big East last year was that the bottom 2 were atrocious and everybody beat them, but then 4 through 9 just beat each other up and knocked each other out of the mix. There would have been 6 bids if Butler had rolled over earlier, but they didn't, right? And so I do think if there's maybe a softer bottom that people can beat up on, if you can beat up on Villanova and maybe beat up on Providence, and I have a feeling that there will be enough of these teams that find a way to figure it out, right? I mean, Marquette, St. John's, absolutely. I think UConn's dancing. Like I'm not ready to panic like that. And then at least one of Creighton and Xavier, I think, finds a way. And who knows? Maybe the Paul Blue Demons will be fighting for it on Selection Sunday. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I've adopted the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I know that this is not a Big East team that we're talking about, but I certainly I think they're the most hilarious team in college basketball. And we can maybe discuss that for a later date. CJ, 3 bids or more, you buying it for the Big East?
So 3's a buy, right? If they get 3, if I don't understand this right.
Yeah, more. It's more than 3. You can't just
more
you
than
can't
3.
Just 3.
So it has to be at least 4.
Got to be 4.
You can't do a push. Yeah, I'm
push
with Sweeney. No pushes. I think 4 is the number. So I agree. The same teams he said. I'm right there with him.
All right, Oregon is a top 3 team, Kevin, in the Big Ten. You buying that?
I'm not. I will say I've been impressed. CJ and I have watched their 2 games this week against A&M and San Diego State. They've played better. This is actually the first time Oregon has 2 wins in their MTE since the Final Four year in 2016-17, which is sort of a wild thing, but they've had horrible luck in these tournaments. So the fact that they're winning early is a good sign. They usually have a lot of roster turnover. Same thing this year, and for the most part, guys seem connected and bought in. That said, I do like the top of the Big Ten. I like this Purdue team. I like Illinois a lot. We mentioned Ohio State. I know CJ is a big Michigan guy. Wisconsin's been the big surprise. I think Oregon's probably a tier below, but so far relatively impressed with what the Ducks have done.
CJ?
Yeah, I'm no buy for me, no deal. I'm right there with Sweeney. I think right now I'd put Purdue, Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, probably Maryland over Oregon, but I do think Dan Allman's done a nice job with this team and rebuilding this roster. I think they're in the mix. Like I think the top half of the Big Ten is all pretty close, and we could see like a lot of records that are near 500 this year in that league. But I don't think that I would put Oregon in the top 3 just yet. But hey, if they go out and beat Alabama tomorrow night, and we could push this conversation for 24 hours, then I might be buying that if like they have a really impressive. Let's say they go out and beat Bama by 10, then we probably would change our tone. But I'm not there yet with the Ducks.
Absolutely. And then the final one, the SEC, Kevin, will get 2 number 1 seeds in this year's tournament.
I'm going to sell this because I think these top teams will beat each other up too much. Like I think Auburn's the best team in the country right now. And it wouldn't surprise me if they stay there and are the number 1 overall seed. Like that none of that would shock me, and their resume is already very, very strong because of what they've already accomplished. But then you get to Tennessee and Florida and Bama, and Kentucky's been playing great. And then this middle all of a sudden has a ton of teeth, right? I mean, Ole Miss is playing well. Oklahoma's 7-0. Mississippi State's looked impressive. A&M's not an easy team to play against. Like, this is such a deep league that I have a hard time imagining all these teams, another team running up a win total big enough. Right now, Florida's 7th in KenPom and is projected to go 11-7 in the SEC. Like, if you lose 7 games in the SEC, you're not going to get 1 seed. So I'm going to say no. But this league has a ton of teeth, man. This is an absolute battle, and I cannot wait to watch it top to bottom because the top of this league has been as good, probably better than advertised. We thought it would be good, but it's been outstanding.
CJ.
I mean, Kevin's probably right, but for the sake of the game, and I've just been agreeing with him over and over again, I'm going to say I buy.
Been very friendly.
I think that here, like the Big 12 got so much love for having, was it 5 in the top 10 in the preseason? Is that right?
Yep.
I think that we could see here in a couple weeks where Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, and Kentucky could all conceivably be in the top 10. I think I'm buying all of those teams right now. I think they're all really legitimately good. And I think any of those 5 could end up being a number 1 seed. So I'll say that 2 of them are. So I'll buy it because I think those 5 teams are really, really high level, really good teams. I agree with Kevin that they'll probably beat up on each other. But if you look at the metrics right now, like they're far and away the best league so far. So if you have 2 teams that go something like 14-4, even maybe 13-5, and you have an unblemished non-conference. If you're Auburn and you went 13-5 in the conference season, like that still is probably going to get you a number 1 seed. So I'll say I buy.
Yeah, real quick, Kevin, I want to talk about Auburn. I want to touch on them real quick because it seems unlikely to me because we know that the system is antiquated and we know how the format works. Like they're probably not going to be the number 1 team in America come Monday because Kansas didn't lose. And credit to them, they did definitely beat Duke, and they probably, don't deserve to drop back. That's the tough conversation. But I watched pretty much every game from them this week in Maui. Obviously, we know what they did against Houston. I'm trying to find the weakness. I mean, maybe you could tell me it's point guard play, and I might listen to that, but after that, it gets pretty thin for me with that team. They're pretty loaded.
Yeah, like at some point, what's it going to take to put them at number one, right? Does winning at Duke this week magically make them the number one team in the country? I mean, it seems like the voters are going to stick to their guns with Kansas. And look, Kansas had a great start to the year. Let's no knock on Kansas, but I don't think people have properly understood how ridiculous it is that Auburn has come back from double-digit second-half deficits against Houston and Iowa State, arguably the two best defensive teams in college basketball. It's been ridiculous. Their size is elite. Broome is the best big man, maybe the best player in the country. Everybody else is just kind of perfectly fitting into their roles. Pettiford has delivered in the big games and the big moments, which is everything you could have asked for from him. Yes, it's still kind of riding the wave with him, but he's awesome in the biggest moments, and he'll only get better. So, yeah, I'm buying Auburn. There's nothing they've done so far that makes me think there's a hole that is waiting to be exploited. We'll see. Again, like, they're not going undefeated. They're going to lose, whether it's Wednesday, whether it's an SEC play. Like, the schedule is too tough. But to me, they have been the best team in the country, and I don't think it's that close so far.
Yeah, I do think I'll be betting them on against Duke. I mean, because I've already checked KenPom. It looks like they're going to be a short underdog. And I love, you're giving me points to this Auburn team. CJ, you're breaking down film before we get to toast the night here. I mean, have you found anything in terms of what you would exploit if you want to beat this Auburn team?
Well, I'll say this: like, I have an AP vote, and I've voted for him the last 2 weeks, number one, and I'll be voting for him to be number one again this week.
Well done,
because they have the best resume. They've looked like the best team so far. I don't know if there is a UConn this year that's like, just head and shoulders above the competition. And last year, like, we had three really, really, really good teams in UConn, Purdue, and Houston. And I think the top is maybe a little closer together this year, but I don't know how you can argue. I mean, I guess conceivably you can argue Kansas hasn't lost and they have really, really good wins. But I think the team that looks the best, the team that has the best resume is Auburn. Yeah, maybe point guard play. You are very reliant on a freshman in big games, it seems like, and that's kind of scary. But, man, he's been pretty poised in those moments. And they can really, really, really guard, especially when they're engaged and, like, they feel challenged. Like, their defense really steps up. They've got positional length. They've got just about everything, and Broome's been terrific. I called him, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I was like, he was the most underrated player in college basketball. Well, he's no longer underrated because everybody's got the memo now and has seen him on a big stage here at the Maui Invitational, and he's been awesome. And yeah, I think right now they deserve to be number one.
Absolutely.
Really, really quick, John. I was just going to say I think they are very similar in a lot of ways to UConn 2023. Remember when UConn blew through PK 85? It was like, oh wow, like those are the best players in the country. Like, that's the best team. I felt very similarly watching this Maui, where it's like they're not number one yet. And I think that team, same thing. Like, they didn't get ranked number one, and I was like, this is a joke. Like, this is the best team. And obviously they had their little January swoon, but that's the vibes I'm getting from this Auburn group. Right
now. So Auburn's gonna lose like 5 straight in January. Everybody's gonna get off them. And then they're going to come around and beat everybody by like double digits in the NCAA tournament. You've now created what their destiny is going to be. Watch for it.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. All right, gentlemen, let's get to it. Our toast of the night. Kevin, start us off.
Toast to Utah State and Jared Calhoun, 7-0. First year on the job. That's a program that always wins, but somehow it's always underrated. Calhoun was a great D2 coach, was in the Final Four the same year that Ben McCollum and Josh Schertz and Scott Davenport, some guys that people know for a long time, did great work at Youngstown State and found a way to keep Mason Falslev and Ian Martinez and has them rolling. They beat Iowa last week, and then this week swept St. Bonaventure and a very good North Texas team today. 7-0 look like a Mountain West contender. Cheers to the Aggies and Utah State.
Cheers.
All right, CJ, who you got? Who gets your toast?
I was at that Utah State Iowa game. They're impressive, and I love the D2 mention because, man, go hire some D2 coaches. How about how well those guys are doing? I'm going to go with I'll go to Porter Moser. I mean, we talked about earlier, nobody expected this Oklahoma team to be anything this year. And to go through and win that tournament with teams like Gonzaga, programs like Gonzaga and Arizona and Louisville in that field, and everything that he lost, to hold it together and to get that team off to an undefeated start. Cheers to Porter.
Cheers. Love it. Yeah. Yeah, real quick, I'll just do West Virginia basketball. I mean, I don't think the expectations were high at all for Coach DeVries coming in here. Obviously, they don't play a super long rotation. I think it's maybe 6-7 guys at most. But you bring in a guy like Javon Small, obviously his son Tucker, and look, I'm not saying that they're going to win the conference or anything like that, but I definitely think they've already shown and proven that they're going to be way more of a factor in that league than anybody anticipated coming into the year. So a great week for West Virginia basketball. I like it when that program is good, so I would certainly like to see it happen again. Well, cheers. Boys, that is going to do it for us on a Friday night edition of Field of 68 After Dark. It was a great day of college basketball. We'll be back doing it all again tomorrow. For Kevin Sweeney, for CJ Moore, I'm John Martin. Thanks for spending a little time with us tonight. We'll catch you tomorrow.